Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you as usual. Anyway, let's get started. I powered up Substack a little bit late, so I don't have the first 30 or so people on there. But anyhow, welcome aboard. Patrick run the race today. He is the first one in. Meow, Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. Coming in second, Lee the Bearcat. Coming in second from Austin, Texas. We also have AVQ, who said he's having a busy Monday. Tax day today. Just got home from waiting a long time at tax office. I'm going to do mine tonight. It has to be filed by midnight tomorrow. I'm probably going for an extension, but I hear you, AVQ. From Brooklyn, New York. We also have in the house Eric Hayes from Atascocita, Kingwood. We also have Squirrel Liconi, ears and mind open. Love to hear that, Squirrel Liconi. And in the house as well is Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. As more people show up, we'll just say hello and welcome. First message here. Monday is such a busy day, says Michael Rudnan. I read that already. Let's see. We also have Patrick Magnus says, actually, you pay the IRS to keep working. You seem to have the cart before the horse. Keep working to pay more money to IRS. No. Patrick is right. The taxes pay for those roads that you drive, for the clean air that you breathe, for the control of the airplanes in the sky. Who should pay for all of that? We aren't miser. I mean, we want to have the flexibility that anytime I want to fly, I can feel safe flying. That when I want to drive, I can feel safe driving. There's nothing wrong with taxes as long as the taxes are paid correctly. We have to get away from what the right wing has taught us to be, and that is completely irresponsible, completely living on the dole, and all of that. Squirrel Akane says, I am Jenny from Longview, Washington. Longview, Washington, Jenny. Thank you so kindly for being here. Great to have you here as well, sister. All right, look, I have 3 videos to show you. But the first one that I want to show you was one from this morning from a progressive who called me. Okay, a progressive who called me, and I cleaned it up a bit, but I left most of it because I wanted you to see that MAGA, the Tea Party, and all these other folks don't have a monopoly on closed-mindedness, on elitism, or on the way we talk and address people that we're trying to get to. And it's important that we see this. And why is it the case? Because unless we start to realize something that I think Republicans themselves have found and have started executing on it, we are going to continue to be in the doghouse. You know what Republicans have realized? They talk to their people as if they're second graders. I am not saying that progressives should do that. But by doing that, what they do is they have the ability to say that, those guys are always thinking high-minded and looking down at us. You can speak intelligently without speaking down at people. You can speak intelligently in a manner that is respectful. You can speak now, I'm not saying, look, to some of our MAGA in our domain here in our chats and so forth, they're outright and downright rude, and many of them are downright, they're trolls, and they don't have they have no desire to engage or to think outside of the box. So we can understand issues with those kind of folks, okay? But Progressives, well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to go ahead and play the segment first, and then we'll take it on the other side. I wanted to kind of hold off a bit to bring a few more people into the fold. But you know what? I tell you what. I'm going to change around. I am going to start with the Social Security and the Social Security and Musk taking over its communication first. That's what I'm going to do first. And because I think that is a story that, since we cover that Social Security story daily, it is okay for us to do that. Welcome, Kim S. From Substack, Cynthia Thomas, Karen Dunford, Nora. Welcome aboard as well, and anybody else that I've missed. Squirrel, Leconi Jenny says, why is the capitalist system set up to subsidize the for-profit corporations? It is so cruel, it funnels money to the rich. That is a prescient statement, sis. And thank you for stating that. Let's do the Social Security piece, and then we'll do the piece on the MAGA progressive afterwards.
I want to start with something bizarre. And I led the newsletter with it, and I was surprised that Brother Jack didn't come and say, why would they do that? You know, I just knew Jack was going to say Social Security forced to use Twitter, also known as X, because I don't know how many people find that shocking, but I find it shocking. According to this report, the Social Security news, you know, when Social Security has something to report that they normally did with a press release to news organizations and otherwise, they are now going to release that on X, meaning on Twitter. First of all, we know a lot of older folks don't use Twitter. Second of all, we know, unlike even other social media platforms, Twitter is one of the smallest. So it doesn't have, even though a lot of us in the news media, we use Twitter a lot and X and well, I use mostly Blue Sky now. That it is, these aren't big platforms like, let's say, Facebook and other platforms. But again, even that, the idea is if the Social Security has real information to release, you want it released to the record media, both independent and otherwise, not something on Twitter. And, you know, the article gave the impression that, well, this is to kind of bring more users to Twitter and bring more users to Elon Musk, and that they did it because it's Elon Musk. First of all, yeah, they did it because Elon Musk is Doge. That's true. But there's something a lot more sinister than that. And this is what I wish the article would have covered, but I didn't see it anywhere in the article. One of the biggest ways that we were able to disperse misinformation throughout the election, was through Twitter. And you can imagine that as they destroy the Social Security offices, the regional offices, etc., and the mainstream media starts to put out what's occurring, or even the independent media starts putting out how the Trump administration is destroying Social Security. And by the way, when we say destroying Social Security, we mean that. And there's a reason why they're doing that. But I'll hold on that for a minute. The idea is to have a Twitter, an X, out there as the official source of the Social Security office, lying to you, giving you misinformation, and then having other people, other organizations on Twitter expanding on the misinformation being placed on Twitter so that they can drive a narrative, so that you can continue to be fooled. This is yet another thing that you should be going to your congressperson about, because your congressperson has the ability to put within the law that all Social Security press releases must go through our standard media, independent and mainstream. It is imperative that we don't allow this slow, every day we hear something new. Every day it is like boiling the frog, right? I know this story isn't necessarily true, but it's an analogy we always bring. You put a frog in boiling water, or rather you put a frog in water, tap water, and you put that water on the stove, but you gradually increase the heat, slowly. That frog doesn't detect accordingly this delta change in heat. By the time it starts detecting that it's cooking, it's too late. It's already burnt. It's already not sauteed, but boiled. That is how this administration is working. Every day, there's a little something that changes. Every day. And the Republican side does nothing about it. And except for a few on the Democratic side, like AOC and Bernie Sanders and a couple of senators, including the guy who did the filibuster, Cory Booker and others, they would raise hell. But other than that, it is as if acceptance, and that is how the boil and frog thing works, right? Acceptance to what's being done. Well, that modal has to change before it gets too late, before the frog starts boiling, before we start boiling. And that only begins with you. So one of the things we do here as an educational channel is to tell you what's happening and to tell you what you can do about it if you don't want that to happen. If you don't want to corrupt the information coming from Social Security, which will endanger your Social Security checks, your disability checks, your things, etc., it is on you. The party is not coming to save any of you. The only thing that's going to save all of us is if all of us force our own representative, the way the Constitution was designed to work, force our representatives into doing the right thing. And that may start with a phone call. That may start with giving a visit singly or collectively to your congressperson. That may mean just for once saying, you know what, for the benefit of this entire country, all of us have to act, and all of us have to start acting now. Folks, this isn't a joke. This isn't something that we should be this isn't a right and left issue. This is not only a democracy issue, but this is something that will have a material effect on your life. And a lot of these things, when baked in, when signed into law, remember, when something is signed into law, if you don't have a willing majority in Congress to buck a system, it is very hard to change. And what we're seeing here is that instantiated, something that we need to do something about rather quickly. And I hope those who are listening to the program right now don't only think about it, but talk about it. Tell your neighbors, your brothers, your sisters, your wives, your daughters, everybody about what's happening. This isn't a simple thing. It sounds simple. Social Security is going to start announcing its press releases on Twitter. Are you kidding me? And Twitter, the bastion of misinformation, the bastion of right-wing propaganda. Folks, if you want the truth, you're going to have to force this on.
Absolutely so, folks. Absolutely so. If you want the truth, Twitter is not the answer. Welcome aboard, May Wood from Long Beach, California. Welcome aboard, Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Welcome aboard, Bruce Pillard from Kingwood, Atascocita. Welcome aboard. I missed a few. Welcome aboard, Maurice on Substack. John Pachetti on Substack. Evelyn Sayers, Kate Rand, Dan Lyles. Thank you guys for all being here. I know I missed a lot, but it's scrolling, guys. It's scrolling. Let's see. Trump, according to Bruce, Trump really has the power. El Salvador president bent the knee. Yes, as of course he does. Central America has been doing that for the United States for centuries now. Let's see what we got. Patrick Magner say, if that is your motivation, I feel sorry that you see life that way. Many of us pay taxes happily because we understand we get a tremendous benefit from it. I mean, I don't, that thing about not paying taxes, it is such, what these people don't understand is when they talk like that, it shows that they want something for nothing. The same people that they put down as wanting to live on the dole, those people who don't want to pay taxes are the ones pretty much wanting to live on the dole. This is a great country that does great things, have great things in the public domain that we want to keep there, that we want to pay for. We want to support our parks. We want to support our regulatory institutions. We want to support all those things that make life in America what life in America is supposed to be. Unlike countries, I mean, if you go to certain countries where you don't have a good tax base to protect the citizenry from the corporations that come in from the inside or the outside and destroy your lands, destroy your health, destroy your water, destroy your air. Come on. Taxes are an important thing, and to sit down and believe that somehow your taxes are wasted in America, there's always a little bit of waste here and there, but America is one. Look, you know why Elon Musk has failed at his job? Remember, he was supposed to get up to $2 trillion. Then he dropped it to $1.5 trillion. Then he dropped it to $1 trillion. Now the maximum savings that he has gotten is so. By the way, Larry Graken, I do think Garcia is still alive. When you take a look at it, he could find nothing. You know why? They fired the inspector generals who actually used to do their jobs. The government isn't the wasteful place that all these people like to make it out to be. It never was. It hasn't been. And we want to correct all the ills within it. But by the same token, we don't want to do what Elon has done, which pretty much destroyed portions of our government. All right. When I talk about progressives now, progressives have the right answers, etc. But sometimes progressives can get in their own way. You sit down and argue about BS instead of how do you work together. You want to concentrate on that one issue that's your pet peeve. I have a pet peeve. It's healthcare. And I think that the healthcare that we got with Obamacare was not the best. And while we were negotiating all of that, I had all kinds of red lines. If we don't include the public option, I am not supporting it, etc. But as time went on, and I saw what many, not Republicans, what many Democrats did to the Affordable Care Act, I started to say, well, you know what? I have to look out for my family. I have to look out for my friends. I have to look out for the average American citizen. And I went full bore on supporting that flawed bill. Because that's all we could get because of neoliberal Democrats. I understand that, but I understand we also have to move forward. We can't sit back. We can't sit back and just think that it's our way or the highway. You cannot do that. So I want you to listen to this discussion that I had this morning with a progressive. And I want to show you why many times progressive values, which most Americans want, don't get through because of a false rigidity on elitism, etc. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side. Look, we many times hit up MAGA, right wing, and Tea Party people as not listening and simply being too idealistic or concentrated on one thing or unable to think things through. Let me tell you something. There's a sect of liberals, a sect of progressives that are no different in what they believe as these other folks are diametrically opposed. But their way of framing a debate, their way of change, it's my way or the highway. And that is a big problem as well in the progressive movement. I want you to listen to this exchange that I had this morning with somebody, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I ask you to listen to the entire piece. It is important, including how I end the particular segment.
Bring Brother Prince Winston into the fold. Come on in, Winston.
Egbert, when are you going to get it? The two-party system is controlled opposition. It's that simple. Wake up, please.
Okay, I don't disagree that both of the parties, specifically the neoliberal wings of each parties, are controlled by the same people. But what I'd like to ask you, Winston, and I say this respectfully, tell me what is your path forward in the short term for us to get some modicum of support for the working class. I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but a lot of folks get upset when I skew left as if it's a just a blind support of a Democratic Party. That's not the case, but give me your path.
I have to repeat myself. I'm sorry, but it's controlled opposition. Maybe you need some time to think about what the implications are. I could refer you to Carol Quigley's Tragedy and Hope. We're very deep into it, like in the 700 pages. He actually talks about this. So I hate to repeat myself on one end, but must say it's controlled opposition. The two-party system is a farce. It's theater.
Winston. We're here for solutions, right? So my question to you, and
No. We have to identify.
Winston, hold on. Winston, I'm asking you a question. Winston, you've repeated yourself. That's why I interrupted. You repeated yourself. My question to you, Winston, and this is coming, I think, from the same side of the ideological spectrum. My question to you, Winston, what's the path? In other words, we have a duopoly. How do you transition from a duopoly to something that actually doesn't have that controlled opposition you speak about, which you are correct about? Again, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Glenn Ryan the same.
I do not have a solution.
Okay, and my answer to you then is the following. I think what I am doing on a per incident and per thing issue until we have that answer, because it's not for that dying grandmother, for that grandmother who's going to lose Social Security, for that person who's going to lose disability, right? Look, remember, we're on the same ideological side. It is evident to me. But I have to work for people who are having...
Not ideological. I'm not speaking from an ideology. I'm trying to identify the paradigm that we're trying to operate within. And if we don't name it properly, we don't have a chance to find a solution.
Okay, I have some issues with you saying it's not named properly. Because I don't think if you are a person who read every single newsletter that I put out there, I don't know how you could possibly say it is not named. Okay?
So I'm not identifying it as controlled opposition, these two farcical parties, then you haven't properly named it. And if you haven't named it properly or accurately, then you don't stand a chance of finding a solution. You're not dealing with reality if you haven't named it accurately.
Well, Winston, I am. Look, let's put it this way, and then I want to go to two callers. But I want to point this out, and this is a problem many have with folks who may consider themselves on the left. Or I don't know where you consider yourself.
Just stop it, Hubert. There's no left or right.
Actually, there is. No. There is a left and a right. There is a left and a right. That's a statement of fact.
Where is the common ground in that paradigm? Where is the common ground in that paradigm? Isn't that what we're looking for?
No, exactly. But listen to what I'm saying. The root cause. Here's the interesting thing that you're saying here, and I think this is a conversation that needs to be had. Here's what you just said. You come on Politics Done Right, and you say, what's the word that you use?
What? Wait. I didn't hear it.
You come on to Politics Done Right, and you use the phrase. I forgot the name now. What do you call controlled opposition? Use the word.
I can't believe that's not in your lexicon. I can't believe that.
Let me tell you why it's not. Let me tell you why it's not.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Again, you got to make one. I listen to you. You listen to me, Winston. Come on. All right. You use the term controlled opposition. Okay. To the people that listen to this show and many others, they don't know what the hell control opposition means. When I talk to them about, wait a second. I don't educate them. I don't educate them with using your phraseology.
I don't understand this phrase.
Why are you interrupting me? Listen to what I'm saying. All right, here we go. Controlled opposition. That's something that we use in an elite form of conversation. If I go to somebody now and I say
the level of conversation that you're having is very low. If controlled opposition is a foreign concept to your listeners, then you have failed in your endeavor.
Well, I think that's how a lot of let me not say that, but let me just say this, okay? If I tell when I say control the opposition, that can have a whole lot of meanings. When I look at people and say the problem that you have is the economic system that we have, and then put it in words that they see in everyday.
We have a two-party system.
There we go.
Two-party system.
Winston, unless you're going to let me make the phrase like I allowed you to speak in the beginning, you can't.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Come on.
I tell you what, we're not going to get anywhere, Winston. We're not going to get anywhere because every time I speak, my brother, you interrupt me. I don't do that to you. So we'll move on. Thank you very much, Winston. Look, and I'm coming to you, Junior and Lester, but let me tell you one of the issues that I have. One of the issues that I have many times with folks, he doesn't like the left and right paradigm. He also wants us to centralize on the choice of words he's using from a over 700-page thing that he's reading. Understood. As a host, it is irresponsible of me to simply speak from these high tone levels. If you want me to speak in high levels of abstraction and all these issues, I could. But why? I am not trying to let anybody believe that, well, I know all these fancy terms when people's lives are suffering and they're going to work every day and don't understand what's going on. My responsibility as a host is to tell people what they can do in the immediacy to get their problems solved, and also in the long term for structural change. That long term from a structural change comes when I talk about a capitalist economic system run by the corporations without wings that harms. That is a long-term structural. What can they do today within a duopoly, within a two-party system, within a Democratic and Republican Party system that get things done? They have to get up tomorrow morning and go to work and survive. Many of us have the privilege, or many have the privilege and the ability, because whether Trump wins or somebody or whoever wins, they'll be okay. They may be stressed a bit, but there are people that this economic system, that this political system is materially affecting today. And that's not only those on the left, that's also my MAGA brothers and sisters. That's my lefty brothers and sisters. I have to find a way to communicate in such a manner that everybody can get some sort of help going on for the system, not from those who can sit back and read different manifestos and understand in detail what's going on. I get it, Winston. I get it, Glenn. But there are people that are not privileged to have what tomorrow is going to bring, like both of you seem to have. And we have to work for everybody.
So let's be clear here, folks. As progressives, as liberals, one has to listen. Things won't exactly be used in the terminologies that you believe it should be used in. People may not even have the same pathway that you do. But given what we're fighting for, given what we must have, it is essential, first of all, that you listen, not only to progressives, but to everybody. And secondly, that you don't think it's your way or the highway, or be such an absolutist that you do not open the doors for all. And that is the thing. The door has to be open for all. He wanted to hear nothing. In other words, if all of us don't kowtown and call it controlled opposition, and then we can move on after we've all sang the praises of controlled opposition, then and only then can we. That is BS. You have some people that don't call something control opposition. The way I've defined the corporate structure gives an open door for people to use their life experiences to say, I see what you're talking about. One of the things that we have in the progressive movement too often is folks who would use these terminologies and would, and if you don't speak a certain way or say certain things in a certain form, you are excommunicated, or somehow you just don't get it. I go to liberal spaces. I go to conservative spaces. And when folks talk about too often in progressive spaces, too often we are trying to, I don't want to say show that we are very smart. We actually are, because the policies we support are in fact thought out. In other words, in general, we don't go ahead and just shoot, if you listen to a conservative talk, they don't think things through, and because they don't think things through, their policies oppose each other. Let me give an example. They want small government, but they want to be in your bedroom. They want small government, but they want to have control over a woman's body. They want small government, but they want to control what books you can read. I mean, it's amazing. They want a big government watching over you for the things that they want, but they want a small government watching over things that they don't want. These are things that are diametrically opposed. But if you look at progressives policies are well thought out. Even our brother Winston that I just had that discussion with, his is well thought out. Controlled opposition. He is correct. But to hammer that every progressive must acknowledge his concept of controlled opposition and simply talk. That's what he's talking about. Since he doesn't agree that he understands that there's a duopoly, and since most of this duopoly is controlled by the same people, he throws his hands up in the air and calls it a day. That's not how you solve problems. You work with what you got, and you grow from what you got. And too many progressives, look, I discount the conservatives because already I have shown that their policies are incoherent and their policies are not does not show a thought process. But progressives who actually think things through, and if you take a look at even Winston, that I disagree with his rigidity, what he's saying is not incorrect. But implementation and attitude has a lot to do with what actually can get done. And that is, in fact, the issue. That is, in fact, what we have to go ahead and do. I tell you what, Mike Cisak, I normally am not taking the bait from folks that are nonsensical in the case of MAGA. But I would like you to tell me, write down in that chat a particular idea from progressives that contradicts another idea from progressives. I just listed a whole bunch from conservatives. You list me one. You cannot come up with one. Anyway, continuing the process, guys. So it is important. It is very important that what we do going forward, folks, is those that are progressive, to understand that you have to do a lot of listening. And not because you don't have the same path, or not because the path that X is working with, you don't agree with. We're going in the same direction, and we need to be supportive with those. In fact, like I've mentioned many a times, if somebody asks me to take a path with them, another progressive asks me to take a path with them, they have faith in their path. And, and it doesn't it doesn't really harm. I am ready to join them. I've done it before. Hell, when we had, as a Bernie delegate in Philadelphia, when it was sure that Bernie was not going to win, many in our delegation wanted to create some havoc, and the way I got to my particular delegation is asking simple questions. All right, we make a ruckus out of this. What are we going to get out of it? What is going to be the results out of it? And our Texas delegations pretty much behaved. And when I say behaved, I don't mean it in a condescending fashion. I mean, we understood that if we raised the ruckus and you added all the things on one side and the other, what would the results be? My brother from another mother, Patrick Magner. How are you doing, sir? Oh, what happened? What happened, Patrick? Let's try that. Patrick, you may want to call again. I don't know what happened. Anyway, so give me a call at any time. Notice that Mike Cisak is unable to come up with an answer. Bruce says, let's stop ranting and get down to work. Bruce, that's what I am doing. Every single morning that I get up and I put these things into people's head, you're going to be hearing somebody on the program tomorrow that talks about this. So when you say Texas is getting ready to pass out free handguns and bankroll its campaign, we took I called up a couple of senators actually about the issue, both UBI that they're trying to cancel. So yeah, all of us have to get into the game and do the work. All of us have to get into the game, and this isn't just ranting, Bruce. This isn't just ranting. When these issues that we're speaking about wake up quite a few people, I can show you the emails to point that out. It's important. It's important. Okay, Magner, you made a call earlier, and I don't know, it hung up. I don't know if I did that. I had an issue with headsets. I'm wondering if something happened there. I don't think so, but give us a call back. Let's see what happens, Magner. Give us a call back and see if that resolves the problem. Anyhow, I got another 8. What is it? I think it's an 8-minute video to show. So while I'll play the 8-minute video, and then you can call back later on. Let's go ahead and do that video. Here we go.
I've been very disappointed in watching the Sunday morning programs for quite a long time. And because most of it has been just your regular turnkey type interviews where the host did a poor job in really getting to the meat of what we're going through as a society. But today, for one interview on Meet the Press, it was different. And it was different because they got somebody of substance to appear on the show. And that somebody of substance was Ray Dalio. And the important thing about what Ray Dalio did is that he told the unfortunate truth. Now, he has been speaking up against the flaws of unfettered capitalism and the possibility of America, this empire, falling like every other major empire, not because it had to, but because it followed the same strategic path that these guys followed to their own destruction. And that is exactly what he sees America's doing. But in the current events of tariffs, tax cuts, and budget deficits, he put it into perfect context with a solution that we'll talk about later on. But it is important because we weren't talking to a partisan. We were talking to a hedge funds manager. Not that I'm a supporter of hedge funds and all of that, but somebody who understands the structure of our current economic system. This is one person I will try to get on the program sometime, but I want you to listen to this interview and then we'll take it on the other side.
I want to ask you about something that's on a lot of people's minds, your predictions for the future. And I want to start with the R word. I know you think this is just a piece of it. Of course, I'm talking about a recession. Do you think it is likely that the United States will dip into a recession because of President Trump's tariffs?
I think that right now we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well. A recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP, and whether it goes slightly there, we always have those things. We have something that's much more profound. We have a breaking down of the monetary order. We are going to change the monetary order because we cannot spend the amounts of money, so we have that problem. And when we talk about the dollar and we talk about tariffs, we have that. We are having profound changes in our domestic order, how ruling is existing, and we're having profound changes in the world order. Such times are very much like the 1930s. I've studied history, and this repeats over and over again. So if you take tariffs, if you take debt, if you take the rising power challenging the existing power, if you take those factors and look at the factors, those changes in the orders, the systems, are very, very disruptive. How that's handled could produce something that is much worse than a recession, or it could be handled well. Let's take the debt situation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, very quickly, because I want to be very specific about what you mean. You're saying worse than recession. You're saying this is reminiscent of the 1930s. We should tell our viewers you correctly predicted the 2008 financial crisis. What is your prediction for where the country is headed right now?
Right now, we're at a juncture. Let's take the budget. If the budget deficit can be reduced to 3% of GDP, it will be about 7% if things are not changed. If it could be reduced to about 3% of GDP, and these trade deficits and so on are managed in the right way, this could all be managed very well. I believe that members of Congress should take the pledge, what I call the 3% pledge, that in one way or another, that they will get that budget deficit down to that number. If they don't, we're going to have a supply-demand problem for debt at the same time as we have these other problems. And the results of that will be worse than a normal recession.
So, and just to follow up on that point, worse than a recession, you're talking about the 1930s. What specifically are you warning of? Are you saying that it could be as bad as a depression? What's your biggest fear?
The value of money. What is a storehold of wealth? That is a bond. In other words, one man's debt is another man's assets, bondholders. And so we're going to be in a situation where if that storehold of wealth is in jeopardy because there's too much supply and demand and so on, and we have a monetary inflation, we will have great disruptions. And that could be like the breakdown of the monetary system in 71. It could be like 2008. It's going to be very severe. I think it could be more severe than those if these other matters simultaneously occur. Imagine if we have a downturn politically and an international conflict.
What's worst case scenario that you're warning of? To be very specific, to put it into terms people can understand.
Very specific. The value of money, internal conflict, that is not the normal democracy as we know it, and international conflict in a way that is highly disruptive to the world economy and could even be a military conflict, just as these breakdowns have occurred before. You know, we have a new order that began in 1945, a new monetary order and a new geopolitical order. And these go in cycles that can be measured. And I worry about the breakdown of that kind of an order, particularly since it doesn't need to happen, because there are certain things that could be done in which this is better, a better restructuring of these debts and actions taken.
Now, Ray Dalio nails it. And I think it's important that we get it. First of all, we can solve this problem quickly by simply letting the tax cuts that Donald Trump imposed in his first administration, let those expire. That will solve half of the problem. The second half of the problem is raise taxes on the plutocrats who stole their wealth legally from the American people. Raise the taxes and appropriately recover it and have that recirculated into the economy. We will get growth, but also we will get below that 3% threshold of debt to GDP ratio that Dalio spoke about. But it's imperative that we do something. It's imperative that we get our economy into the hands of thinkers and not into the hands of just a whole bunch of capitalists who really cannot see past their nose, cannot see past usurping our economic system and taking the wealth that not they built, but that you built. This is a very important concept, a very important piece that we should heed.
All right, folks. That's it, Joe. I just noticed Breach talking about you being ill. Please get better. Let me know how you're doing, girl. Okay, Patrick, can you hear us now? We had some. I guess you called in a little after I started the video. Talk to me.
Yeah, I just called in to kind of help you realize the point of that phone call this morning was for that guy. Well, first off, can you describe why you think he was progressive?
I thought he was progressive because he has a Green Party type mentality about the duopoly. That's what I thought, but I could be wrong. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. What are your thoughts?
Well, I want to point out that nothing says that a conservative can't feel the same way.
That's
about
true.
A controlled opposition.
That's true.
And I don't think that his motivation was any more than just to bully and discredit you this morning, because you're right. He did spend some time thinking about that phone call, but when you asked him how to move forward, he said he had no plan, no thought. And then you asked him several more times, okay, well, what do we do about this? You didn't disagree with him, and for some reason, Lee the Bearcat thinks you did. But you didn't disagree with him. You all agreed.
Yeah.
He just wasn't willing to move forward. He wanted to pigeonhole you into saying what he wanted you to, and then make it look like this is something that you've been missing out on. You and I talked about controlled opposition maybe 2 weeks after the election. It was Thursday, and I forgot his name at the moment, but he agreed with this as well. There wasn't anything in that phone call to me that really said that he was calling to learn or help somebody understand. He was just trying to bully you.
And I also think he wanted to sort of put this air. Let me tell you, when I speak about going to these conferences, Patrick, I go to, and I guess this was probably my bias being at conferences, let's say in Chicago or whatever, where there are a lot of progressives that speak exactly as he did. So I painted that. I definitely did. I painted that onto his wordiology. I mean, you could be right. He could not be progressive, but there are a lot of progressives that speak exactly like him, and they want the terminology used the way it should. You must call things a certain way, or and we would spend ridiculous amount of time on terminology as opposed to saying, "Oh, that's what I meant," and move on. And it kind of irked me a bit. I kept my self-control, of course, but it kind of irked me a bit that is where we're coming from. I don't know that he was disagreeing. So I appreciate what you just pointed out, because I think it's important. I think this is important for the entire conversation altogether. Anything else, my brother?
No, I just wanted to give you my perspective. It might not be 100% correct either.
No, but take in.
And then, yeah. And then after you consider something like that, you're more armed when it comes back up again.
Absolutely. Thank you, my brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Anybody else want to call in? Give us a call like Patrick did at 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. And let's see. I saw something in the chat that I wanted to read out, and I scrolled across. But Joe, long COVID, I know it's a tough road. I understand that there are some trials in treating long COVID. Maybe you should do a internet search on that, sis, and see if you can find one that can work. I know a couple of folks with long COVID, and it just isn't a good thing. It just isn't a good thing. All right, this Politics Done Right. Who do I have the honor of speaking with?
You have caller Harry, and I've enjoyed your whole show, and I liked what Patrick was saying about that guy. And I listened this morning. What was his name? What was that caller's name?
His name was Winger. Winston.
Winston. Yeah. I think Patrick's right in front of bully you. But the only thing I worry about, I love the fact that you are being an activist and you are saying what has to be said, and I remember when I was a lad, and my dad was once telling me, Harry, do you want to be a broadcaster, get in and all that? And I thought about that. And I remember him saying, I've never forgot that conversation. Him telling me, well, you have to read a lot, and so you can inform people. And I just thought about, how you do your show and conduct yourself. You do these things to inform people, and you root out all the misinformation. When there's misinformation being said.
Brother Harry,
But
we
what I
try.
really
We try
want
hard. We try
yeah,
hard, right? And this is
exactly.
not a me. This is a we thing. And by the way, give me a chance here. I want
Yeah.
to say one thing,
Go
Harry.
ahead, go ahead.
And it goes like this. This tomorrow, there actually, when we talk about activism, tomorrow there is a group, a indivisible group out here in Kingwood heading out to a demonstration in the Woodlands tomorrow. I'll probably have the leader on my show tomorrow morning
Oh,
describing
good.
how to get there in the Woodlands for this very important protest. And it's not only protest, it's just so that people can see that there is an opposition and what the opposition is about and what can they do. And that's what she's working in the case of Cindy Hendrickson here in Kingwood. She's working real hard to mobilize women and men around this area in the humble Atascocita, Kingwood area to really start performing. And we should be carrying her live when she has the thing in Kingwood. But I want her on at 6 in the morning. I hope she wakes up to do it for me
Oh, good.
tomorrow.
I hope she's going.
I
I'll be
want her
listening.
on to describe what's going on. So things are, look, people are mobilizing and we're having things. Yesterday, I went to the Panamanian, not a Panamanian, it's actually Latin Fest. And
Uh-huh.
what I
Yeah.
tell people all along, the time, is that you are a walking billboard. Bruce spoke earlier about me ranting. I rant everywhere. In other words, I try to get people engaged everywhere. So I am at Latin Fest,
That's
and
right.
people are talking. I'm talking to the Latin Muslims, and as far as them not being engaged in the body politic, and some of them say, "Yeah, I guess after all, we probably should get engaged." I spoke to some Colombians who say they want to stay as far away from politics as ever. These are legal citizens of the country. Talk to them and say, "No, we got to engage because do you want X, Y, and Z? Couldn't this affect you?" And by the way, you are a citizen, but think about this. Even as citizens that we're naturalized citizens, and our passport says we're born somewhere else. Don't you think that's an issue? Oh, I never thought about that. So we all can be walking billboards for change,
That's
and
right.
we may call it a rant, we may call it whatever we want. I stop in HEB and hear a right winger say something about the tariffs. And my thing is, these
Uh-huh.
prices are going to go up, ma'am, because of the tariffs. And this will never be made here. What's your
Yep.
solution? You have to engage. Anyway, give me a quick closer because I got to
Yeah.
do my ask.
Okay, I'll say, yeah. Now, you are absolutely right about how fixing this problem. Let the tax cuts expire and raise taxes on this. The only thing I worry about, Eberto, when you make these comments and, you have some popularity, I worry about people like Stephen Miller, people like our convicted felon Donald Trump, and other right-wing nutcases saying, that Eberto Willis, he needs to be deported talking that stuff, raising taxes on rich. That's the only reason
You know what?
I worry.
But here,
worry
Harry,
about that.
here's the deal, Harry. Here's what you do because you've been speaking to your MAGA friends in Florida. There you go. You're
Yeah,
doing
that
the job.
yeah, exactly.
Wait, hold on a second, Harry, and then I got to go. But I want to leave you with a
Go
positive
ahead.
that you've done. You have a friend that
Mhm.
you've been speaking to for a very long time. His 401k just took a huge dip. You have
Yeah, it took a
planted.
hit, and he said he didn't.
Let me
He
finish.
said that he didn't lose as much. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But what I'm saying, you have planted seeds in his head. There's a lot more to
Yeah.
come. The seeds that you planted, done respectfully, could actually work for him or others that you're talking to. Hey, I got to let you go,
Exactly.
Harry, because I need to do my
And I
ass,
have
but-
another friend in California who thinks
Hey,
the same way
Harry,
you
I'm trying
and I
to
talk
I'm
both
trying to
of them.
throw you off of the phone, my brother,
I
because
know.
I need to
You gotta
finish
go.
the show.
You gotta go.
I gotta
I'll
go.
listen-
Thank you,
I'll listen
brother.
tomorrow.
Peace.
Have a good
Peace.
day. And,
All right.
peace.
All right. I love Harry. Harry calls in the morning as well. And so forth. I love the guy. All right, look, folks. I want to ask all of you that are watching. Those are you who have the wherewithal to do so. We do a lot of work. We're going to be not. We are going to be. We bring in live feeds at time for people who are doing these actions outside. We write books. We do a whole lot more than just the radio show. And I know my brother Bruce know we do more than just ranting as well. We actually work for solutions. I work with quite a few people that are out there, and Bruce and his wife does as well, and many others in this chat are out there doing a whole lot of stuff. We have Bridge MCP that through her Facebook group is doing a whole lot. We have Patrick that through his letters and contributions and otherwise that's doing a lot. The same we can say for brother Bruce. The same we can say for our brother in Brooklyn, New York, Michael Rudnin. You all are participating in a manner that moves the movement forward. There's no one way to skin the cat. There's no one way that we're going to make this change. We're going to make this change supporting each other and actually engaging. I've dedicated my life, you guys know I'm an engineer businessman who decided to throw it all away for doing this. Because with the technology that I knew, with the politics that I've always known, I could build an infrastructure by my lonesome on the cheap to do this kind of work. But it does require support. And I ask those of you who have the wherewithal to do so, if you're on Substack, to please consider becoming paid subscribers of Substack. It's like getting your friend here a coffee. I know you can do a coffee to say, you know what, to keep this movement going, to keep this work going, I am willing to do that. The way to get to my Substack is I have an easy URL. That's an alias that I built, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter is the way to support our Substack newsletter, which subsidizes everything that we do here, both books, activism, and otherwise. So I ask you kindly once more to consider becoming paid subscribers of our newsletter by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And you know what? Guess what comes with that? You get to read all of the books that I've written thus far for free on the Substack platform. But even more, every new book that I come up with will be placed on the Substack platform for all of those who are paid subscribers. That's a little give back for saying thank you. And sometimes we will have different private things that we do among the paid subscribers just to kind of give an incentive to support. So please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and become a paid subscriber. It's very inexpensive. And it goes a very, very long way. If we can get the 1,200 people we need, right now we're just at about, 360 or so. If we can get to the 1,200, 1,500 number, it'll really start to make us reach that break-even point. I got to get out of here. It's 4:01. My name is Egberto Willies. Thank you all. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. It's Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this. Baby, I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.